Education in American Samoa is basically an American school system. Because it is a territory of the United States, our school system is patterned after the American school system. It's just a little variance, though. Our elementary school run from kindergarten to grade 8. We don't have a middle school. We don't separate the teen years or the adolescent. They are all on the same campus with the elementary children. Then we have our regular high school, grade 9 to 12. 12,000 students are in the public school system, of which I direct, and 900 teachers help teach children K to 12. We also have an early childhood education, which is also called Head Start. That's administered by the government, but fully federally funded. We also have a special ed division, also fully funded by the federal government. And then the rest of the schools are private schools. So in total, about 3,000 students attend school in the private school, religious and otherwise private schools. So the curriculum is an English curriculum, but 90+% of our children speak Samoan as their first language. That's the challenge that we face. And 90% of our teachers are Samoans. They speak predominantly Samoan, have been trained in our local community college there, and they attend accredited university outside of Samoa. Most of them graduate from the University of Hawaii, Manoa. One of the problems in Samoa, and I'm sure it's pretty much the same out in the islands and the territories, that when a new leader comes in, everything changes. People change, things change, ideas change. So we never really get to see something through to make sure that it works for us. This I wanted to change, and with the help of my deputies and staff, we sat down on our own as educators and start drawing up our 5-year plan. The staff wrote up our first 5-year plan in the history of DOE American Samoa. So here comes the logic model. Dr. Herman comes in and he turns everything around. You got to do this the other way around. You got to look at your resources. You got to look at your personnel. You got to look at your money, then talk about it. I said, okay, looks like we're doing this thing backwards. When we started doing it together as a group, everything fit. Now my staff's doing it on their own. They not only have the overall plan for the 5-year, they're taking the instrument and they're doing, for the curriculum people, they're taking every content area and mapping it out for 5 years. For the teacher quality, they're taking each of the 3 components and they're mapping it for 5 years. So one division may have an overall logic model, it's a tool, and then they have their sub-plans, which lead up to 5 years. So it's marvelous. They love it. They can use it. They can see their work, and they'll know the pieces that are missing that they need to go back and talk about it. We like it because it was easy to understand, easy to insert what we already had on our draft plan, and it's just a different way of looking at it, but it makes sense. It's easy to follow it. Even people like me can follow it. So if I can follow it, everybody else in the territories can follow it, and it's going to be very helpful. It's helpful because you're looking straight at components that are so important to the end product of where you want to be. This plan is going to go to the governor, is going to go to our legislator. This thing is going to be legislated using the logic model. The 5-year plan on the logic model will be legislated. The whole concept of planning for 5 years and 5 years until the eternity to help our children. And I think for the islands, because we normally don't plan that far ahead. I mean, culturally, we're talking about today and tomorrow. Okay, we're not talking about 5 years. Who knows where you're going to be 5 years? But you have something down. And most important is that the plan will help direct our work to helping our children. I think that's the bottom line, is that the plan is going to help us look at what are we doing? Is it making positive impact on the learning of children? And is it making an impact on helping our teachers become more effective teachers? And what we're teaching, and the assessments, and the resources. I often tell my staff, hey, we're very blessed to have a lot of resources. We got to learn how to use it wisely so that it makes the greatest impact on the learning of children. We have to make sure that they're ready for the global world, the digital world, even though they live on a rock. At the same time, we want them to remember they're Samoan, but they need to be able to survive. And how do we do that? We have to have those plans with those children in mind so that it's well planned, it's meaningful, it'll be so much more effective rather than leaving it to chance. We cannot assume anything anymore. We cannot assume and say, hey, it's going to work without really knowing. It's got to be better planned. So for us right now, the logic model is a very logic path to go.